we call this presentation Dashboard Diagnostics, and it's a way of learning about your dashboard and using the numbers that are on there to plan your future as far as stabilizing at the rank, but also to help as far as advancing in rank. So ASEA's pay plans are really designed to promote stability at rank. Advancement as well as stability. And there is a saying, you can't take rank to the bank, which means people can advance rapidly to a rank, bronze, silver, or even diamond, based on a minimal number of high volume signups needed to get to the rank, but that won't provide a stable pay because it's very limited number of people. What we call a stable rank is based on a lot of people enjoying the product on a monthly basis, and that takes time to develop. Let's look at this, what stability at rank provides. Again, not to stay at that rank forever, but with the idea of advancing. But a solid Director 300 will provide a nice part-time income, about $500 a month. And here you see a little customer bonus. And then a big part of the pay at the beginning is fast start bonus. And in this case, I'm looking at 3 enrollments a month at the 4 case level. So, I mean, that's highly variable depending on the activity you have. And then a solid Director 300, one that's Director 300 every week of the month, is almost a Director 700. So their binary pay is going to be based on perhaps 600 points volume, I think is what I based this on. Yeah, 600. 10% of 600 is 60, so 60 times 4 weeks in a month is the 240. And similarly, a solid bronze is going to be on the order of 2,000 a month. Again, the pieces of the pie now include executive momentum pool, this grayish one, and also the check match. But the point is, stability of rank will provide kind of a consistent paycheck, because you could get to a rank in 1 week if you wanted to with people signing up, but you won't necessarily. The stability rank is based on auto ships as well as a growing group, and it provides a nice stable base. So that is how we're approaching this dashboard diagnostics. So let me get right into it. And again, let me say, for people who are not totally into numbers, this may be a little bit overwhelming. So what I end with is the idea that it's not so much the numbers. You don't need to know the numbers. It's really the activity that counts. And the basic activity of introducing people to ASEA and helping other people learn how to do that in your group, that's really what counts. But for people that like numbers, here we go. So this is a dashboard, and let me just go over some of what the dashboard is doing here. So what we're going to be looking at is paid rank down here. And you can see this person has been, this now is looking into the past, the history of the person. And so we're going back from the current week here, and the current week is also shown here. Well, actually, current week as of yesterday. And it's going back in history 4 or 5 weeks. And same thing down here, 4 or 5 weeks into the history. And in this case, it's showing what the paid rank was in the past 4 or 5 weeks. So this person's a fairly solid Director 700, ready to go to bronze, essentially. But before that happens, let's see what it takes to be a totally solid Director 700. There. So the numbers in particular we're going to be looking at are left total and right total, because the totals include any bank volume, and that's in the end what it takes to advance in rank. You can see this person has a very good some bank volume on his left side, and it's the right side in particular they're working on. So here this week the person had 1475 in the lower. So you're looking at the lesser leg, the lesser volume left and right. So the right leg in this case was 1475. And that's why this person was Director 700, because they had more than 700 in their lesser leg. So let's continue on to we're going back in history now. That was 5 weeks ago. Now we're 4 weeks ago. This person was Director 700 again because they had over 700 in their lesser leg. So let's just continue back in the history here. So 3 weeks ago, the third week ago, they were Director 300 paid rank. And that is because they had less than 700 in their lesser leg. They weren't Director 700, but they had more than 300. So therefore they were Director 300 3 weeks ago. And last week, over 700. So that's why they were Director 700, but not quite bronze. Bronze is 2000. So I'm just zipping through these ranks here. And again, I was looking back in history. Now, history is nice to see, but what we're really looking for is the future. So let's take a look at the future here. So to get solid Director 700 in the future, what we need is in particular to take care of this 1 week, which seems to have less people on auto ship. So now we're transitioning from the history from previous weeks. These weeks at the top here are going back in time, but we want to look into the future. In the future now, we're looking at what is called projected auto ships. And it's the projection of what's going to happen in the future with the auto ships that are currently in place. So let's take a look at what you do is you click on this on your dashboard. Click here to view projected auto ships. So when I click on that, it's going to bring down the projected auto. Well, it doesn't bring down the auto. It's going to go to a separate page, projected auto ship report. So what I've done is I've taken that projected auto ship report and put it side by side here. You can print out your projected, and that's what you'll need to do these calculations. But for sake of this presentation, I just put it right side by side here. What we have is a current week here. Again, 218 to 224. You can see that here. And that is what we call week 8 in the calendar. And I'll be showing you the calendar in a second. And I put week 8 here because that's the totals for week 8. And then future weeks are down here. And let me, I might hide this. It might be messing up. So here's the future weeks. So in the future, week 9, and I'll show you the calendar that defines what these numbers are, will be next week, to February 25th to March 3rd, and so on. Week 10 is March 4th to 10th. Week 11 will be March 11th to 17th. So that's going out into the future now. So let's continue here. So what we're going to look at in particular for the future to be a solid Director 700 is this 1 week here. So the left legs are solid because there's a lot of people on auto ship in that left leg. So the projected auto ships are over 700. But the right leg, well, actually, the right leg is good for most of the projected future, except for week 10, which is about 2 weeks in the future. So for that week in the future, we have this much volume, which is equivalent to about 5 people on auto ship. I don't know how they get to 489, but there it is. So to make that third week in the future Director 700, we want 700 minus that 489 projected volume, gives us 221. That's about 2 people on 1 case of auto ship we need. So what does that mean? That means for this week in the future, which is, in this case, March 4th to 10th, if 2 people are enrolled on auto ship, then essentially we'll have that Director 700 established for the next month. Now realize I'm only looking at auto ships here. I'm not even counting new enrollments and the volume from the enrollments. So this will provide a nice, solid, stable base, assuming people are not having trouble with their credit cards and stuff. You have to watch that or help them watch it. And I'll just mention, I'm not getting into that here, but on this projected auto ship report, over on the right side of it, it shows whether people are having trouble with their credit cards or et cetera. So you can help them follow up to fix those problems. And what you're going to see here, look at the low week in the history is week 6. And we're going to just show you something here. That's the low week we had in the past. And remember this, week 10 is a low week in the future. So when we look at this calendar, remember that week 6 and week 10. So let's see what the calendar says. I think we go to the calendar. So here's the calendar, 2017 auto ship calendar. You should download this from your back office library, your virtual office library, and print it out. Keep it on your desk right in front of yourself. I do. Let's zoom in on it. And remember week 6 and 10. I don't know if I highlight them here. Yeah, there we go. What we're seeing is these are the same colors, week 6 and week 10. Basically, this is the second week of the month. And it was a week in the past, and it's going to be a week in the future until you build it up with those 2 people we saw earlier. So what, again, we're looking out into the future, what we need to do to establish solid ranks and or to advance to the next rank. So in this case, the solid rank is Director 700. But in the future, we're going to be looking at bronze, and I think that's where we head next here. Let's take a look. But I just wanted to give you an introduction to the calendar and to utilize these colors, because the numbers don't always match up. In this case, actually, they're matched up perfectly, 4th through the 10th, 4th through the 10th. But if you go to the blue week, three months out, it's not the exact same dates, but the bottom line is they fill in over time, and they tend to be the same base dates. The goal we want in this case, as far as advancing in rank, would be to get to bronze, where we need a minimum of 2,000 in our lesser leg, and we need some Director 300s at that point. But I'm not going to worry about the Director 300s here. I'm focusing more on the volume. Well, you do have to worry about the Director 300s, but the focus of this presentation is really the volume. So let's see where we go from here. I'm going to click the button. So again, solid bronze. In particular, it's the right leg that needs help here, because we do have the bank volume, but we're going to ignore the bank volume also because we want to look at current volume for each week. But even current volume for each week is looking good for the left, in the history at least. But let's take a look now into the future. Well, starting with the current current week. So the current week, we have actually over 2,000 in the left volume. Again, I'm kind of ignoring bank volume at this point, the totals, because we want to keep that activity going. But the right leg does need some help for the current week. And if you look at the current week in projected auto ship, again, depending on where you are in the current week, maybe in this case I'm on Friday, but maybe we're only on Sunday or Monday. But you can add these two together, what's going to ship for projected auto ship for the current, today in this case is Friday. So if I add 100 to what the volume is total existing at this point, because this is at this point 1768. If I add those two, 1768 plus 100, and subtract it from the 2,000, what it's indicating is I would need essentially like one person in the future to be bronze for this current week. So this can tend to be confusing. So let me just continue on, and the more I do this, hopefully the confusion will subside. So let's look at next week. Now we're looking into the future again. And I guess here, what we're looking at next week is week 9. And left leg is good. So here's the projected auto ships. At this point, there is over 2,000 volume of auto ships established for the left leg for next week. However, the right leg is 1350, only 1350, which is very nice actually for most people. So subtract that from the 2,000 needed for bronze, gives you 650. And if I round up, that's equivalent of about 7 new people on auto ship of 100 to fill that in to have a solid projection of auto ships. Again, we're only dealing with auto ships, over 2,000 here. So about 7 new people. Now, 7 people might seem like a lot. So let's put this into perspective. That previous Director 700, solid Director 700, I would establish as a 1-month goal. I mean, this person should be able to be solid Director 700 with 1 month. Basically, they need to enroll 1 person and be solid Director 700. But here's 7 people. That's not necessarily a 1-month goal. So let's set it to like a 3-month goal. Say over 3 months into the future, we want to be solid bronze. So that puts it more in perspective. We're dealing with 7 people over 3 months. But remember, these 7 people are not you personally enrolling 7 people. It's your group enrollments. So you can see this person, in particular on your right leg. So you can see this person, the left leg is stronger, and they have 5-7 enrollments history. This is going back in time. So this is a group effort, not just you, but your whole group enrollments add to this number. So you can see here in the history for the right leg, they've been having 2 to 3 in a week. So now we're looking at a week 10. Again, left leg is good. Projected auto ships, not even counting the banked volume, just the current auto ships that are projected for 2 weeks out. And the right leg is a lot less. 2,000 minus that 489 projected is 1,500 needed to be bronze. So that's equivalent to about 15 new people at 100 auto ship. Again, we're looking at this over 3 months. And we're talking about group enrollments. We only have 3 or 2 a week, but over 3 months, that's like 9. So we're not quite there with the history shown based on the history. We need to have a little increased enrollments to make this happen. And this will be explained again as we go. I'll show you a chart that will help with this. So let's look out 3 weeks from now. Again, very nice left projected auto ship. And the right projected auto ship is close. Take the 1775 projected from 2000, and it's looking at about 2 new people are needed. All right, so let's look at how this really works as far as how you can make this work practically. So what we've done here is defined some numbers that are needed in the future. We've done that by looking at our projected auto ship. So what can we do to really make this look practical and make it happen? So you can make this tracking sheet yourself. I don't have it in a download at this point. I could do that, but it's pretty straightforward. We're looking at 3 months into the future. In this case, let's make the goal to be solid bronze. And what I'm going to do is put in those numbers that we just calculated here. Remember how the left leg projected auto ships were all good. We were over 2,000. Not that we want to stop. We want to keep that left leg moving. But the right leg had some numbers that we needed. And I'll go back and show you, but the week in the first week in the future was 1, second week was 7, 15, and 2 is what was needed on the right leg to be solid bronze. That is our goal, to be solid bronze. And let me see where this goes. Yeah, so I went back and in particular, I picked out week 10 that was the weakest week. And remember, the calculations showed we needed about 15 new people. So that 15 is getting plugged in right into this goal. And those other numbers were plugged in directly here too. So here we are with our goals. 1, 7, 15, and 2. And let's take a look at what this chart's going to do. I'm going to put in some red numbers here. So what we're looking at over here, remember the auto ship calendar. The week 8 was the same color as week 12, was the same color as week 16. It's essentially the same sequence of days within the month. You can see how we're doing this over 3 months to the future. And if you look at that auto ship calendar, week 8 is going to be that color. I think it might have been blue. And the next month, that same blue color is week 12. And that same color 3 months from now would be week 16. So that's what we're seeing. So that's why we see 8. You can see my mouse, 8, 12, 16 carries over. And just to show you how this works for the other, for 9, 13, 17, and then week 10, 14, and 18, and week 11, 15, and 19. You can see how the auto ship calendar is being laid out in a table form here, 3 months out. So I'm going to erase these now and start some annotating. So what we have here is, for week 8 in particular we're looking at, that's actually the current week. And remember how we saw that the goal of 2,000 was met on the left side, so we're okay here. And remember how we needed 1 person on the right side. This is for the current week to have a volume of over 2,000 to be bronze. And let's just say during this current week, at this point it was Friday, the very end of the week, we did have 1 person ready to sign up. And we got that person did sign up with the 1 case auto ship. That means we're good. And we have met the goal for this sequence. We're going to move to week 9, which is next week. Now we're in next week. We have a goal. Again, the left side is okay. And we have a goal of 7 to fill in on the right side over the 3-month period. And let's just say this next week, not just us, but our whole group on that right leg enrolls 3 people at 1 case auto ship. And that leaves us with 4 needed to meet our goal. And what happens is this goal now will carry over to month 2 on the right side. So let's carry that goal over to month 2, which is this actually now week 13. And we're going to jump ahead to week 13, let's just pretend. And there, week 13, we do the same thing. Let's just say the team has 3 signups, and that leaves us with just 1 needed. And just repeat, carry it over. 1 needed. Let's say we do 3 again. So we definitely meet the goal. We're good. So you can see how this works. Similarly, if we're looking at week 10, that would be here, week 10. And you can just fill in the numbers. Say 4 people were met here. That means 11 are needed. That 11 carries over to the next month, week 14. So you can see week 14 is next month in that time sequence. And whatever, let's just say we have 4. That leaves us 7, which gets carried over to the future, week 18. And let's just say week 18, we do 3 again. That means we didn't meet the goal. We're 4 short, and that's okay. That's how goals work. Sometimes you meet them, sometimes you don't, but we can start with another 3-month period at that point. So that's the gist of how this chart would work. And if you did have goals to meet on the left side, they would be filling in. They would be filling in on these left weeks also. Remember those weeks 8, 12, 16 that we were talking about. If you look at the calendar now, again, these are that same colored week, 8, 12, and 16, 3 months, going 3 months into the future. It's a light blue color in February, light blue color in March, light blue color in April. The bottom line is we got to balance, you know, the activity and the numbers and all that stuff. The bottom line is that this, if you just do the activity, you don't even have to think about the numbers. The activity being the basic building block of bringing in people and who are directors, and duplicate those people becoming directors, preferably within 14 days. And when you do that basic activity and help your people to do that, you don't necessarily have to think of the numbers, especially for people who don't like numbers. That'll get you to where you want to go. I mean, the numbers will happen, and that'll drive you to success. It'll develop the solid director 300s, the solid director 700s, and on to bronzes over time.